Hey there, welcome to Scope of Life. My name is Egwin. I'm going to run you through the fifth exercise of the Baduan Jin set today. Fifth exercise looks like that. Once again, we start with our feet parallel to each other, roughly hip wide apart, and that's the movement. All right, now that you have seen it, it's one of the a little bit more complex exercises of the Baduan Jin set, but still nothing really difficult here. You might have noticed the step is rather similar to the step of the second exercise, the pulling the bow exercise that we've done a couple of weeks back. Now, from standing in this position, first thing, you turn once again to the right side. Make sure that your left leg is already coming back to the front, which I explained the last time as well. You turn to the right, your left heel leaves the ground, which will naturally help your hip to come to the front already. Now from this position, like so, now it's possible to pick up the left leg. We don't really put it up and put it back down again. We just simply, from this position, we just simply sweep the leg out to the side, but in such a way that we are able to pull it back. Once again, it's very important that the step is a non-weighted step, so that we don't fall into the step and have this jolt at the end. What we want is, from this position, just turn to the right, place the left leg to the side. Once again, the inside of my feet is still parallel to each other, and then I move to the middle. Now we don't have any going too far. No, we just simply come into the middle until we rest comfortably between our legs. And now we have our hands. Our hands get placed in the middle of our upper leg area with the thumb pointing backwards. Not like this, but like this, so that the whole palm is resting comfortably in the middle of my upper legs. My thumb is pointing to the rear. Now in this position, make sure that you really open in the hips and that you actually sit between your legs. Make sure not to have too much tension where your knees are bent, but still your buttocks are tight and your whole pelvic floor is tight, and you try to hold yourself up. No, just relax into the position. Have your arms resting here comfortably. They're just opening up to either side of the body. And make sure that in this position, when I show it to you from the side, that in this position you neither lean forward nor backward, but that you're just sitting here with your spine more or less upright. Once again, neck area just naturally comes after the rest of the spine, and then the head. So no position like this or like this or like this. Just simply be there, upright, with your arms open to the side. Now, after that, it becomes really interesting. I show you this part once again. Come to the side, step out. You notice my arms are swinging to the right side, helping me once again with stepping aside. and then they come to the center, resting comfortably on either upper leg area. From here on, we bend down in our hips. Notice this time it's not a movement that's done in the spine. So from this position, we don't roll our spine in, we just simply tilt in our hip area. The whole spinal column is more or less straight while we do this tilting motion. And then there is obviously more to it, as you can see. This more to it means we turn a little bit back to the right side. Now we have this tilting motion. We turn back to the middle. And now the movement goes along, because from this position, now the movement changes again. From this position, we have a rotative aspect in our upper chest area and in the spinal column that runs from up here, so everything that's to do with the chest spinal column. And that's exactly the area where we want to work in a rotative manner. One thing to keep in mind here. The lower spine, meaning between your sacrum, down here, and the area where your ribs get attached. The lower spine is almost completely unable to rotate. Rotation down here is only possible in very, very small steps. There is a lot of rotation possible, however, in the upper spine and obviously in my head area. And that's what we use in this position. That's also a very important thing, because in this movement we don't start the rotation from downwards and coming back up. No, we start the rotation from our shoulders until we reach a point where we realize, ah yeah, okay, now we are at the end of where my rib cage is. Then we stop the rotation. We just try to get our shoulders a little further, maybe our head a little further, but not the lower spinal area. So just to give you an idea of how it might feel, it feels a little bit different when we are in the position because we're bent forward, so the tensional pattern is a little bit off. But just so you have an impression, from standing here, try to rotate your shoulders just gently, and then rotate your spine. Until you feel, oh, okay, out here, at the end of the rib cage, on the right and on the left, you feel a little bit of pressure, a little bit of tension. Then stop the movement. Don't try to go further, because going any further than that would actually start to rotate, or rather it would try to rotate the lower spinal column area, which isn't designed to rotate. The lower spinal column is only designed to do this tilting motion to the front and to the rear from your pelvis, and the tilting motion to the side, but no rotational movement. Rather, the rotational movement, to be anatomically completely precise, has a completely different axis in the lower spinal column, because the axis is further in the back, not in the area where your vertebrae, where the actual bodies of your vertebrae are aligned with each other. It's further back, and the radius of the rotation is much, much smaller. So, coming here, once again, try just to rotate your shoulders. And then release back to the middle. When we are in our outside position, with the hands placed on our legs, we turn to the side, tilt in the pelvis, until we come to this forward position. I'll show you that from the side again. So from standing upright, coming to the side, tilting movement, and to the middle. Now notice, my spine is more or less straight. I don't have any curvatures, not too much in either direction. And from this point, I just simply start to let my right shoulder fall in and sort of push off my right leg with my right arm, as though as I would try to push my shoulder to the front. And the opposite goes for the left shoulder. So from this position, coming here and down, the left shoulder doesn't fall in. No, on the contrary, the left shoulder actually stays where it is. And still I try to extend my arm. By doing so, lifting my left shoulder up. And so it's actually my arms, via their stretching movement, that start the rotation of my upper body. That's the reason why the arms are there, apart from taking a good portion of my weight as soon as I'm in this position. And that's what we are looking for here. A movement where one end, one polarity of my movement is my pelvic region, and where the other end is the slightly stretched away portion of my upper chest area and my shoulder area. If I do that, my spine gets a nice little rotation, especially in the middle of the whole chest spinal column. And in this area, we have something very important. We have our heart. And that's exactly what this exercise works on. This exercise actually works on the heart area. It opens up the whole heart area. And it releases tension that sits within the spinal column or within the chest area around the heart, which is very important because you have to think about this anatomically for a second. We have our heart. Now we say the heart is back in here, all right. But how does it stay there? The heart is actually covered in a sort of a sac. Yeah? This again is built in there using different strings of fascia. And it's as if you're hanging something inside a room, connecting it and stabilizing it with a couple of strings. That's exactly what's going on here. So with a couple of lines, yeah? That's exactly what's going on here. We have fascial structure running up to the sternum. We have fascial structure running from the heart back to the rear, like to my spine. We have fascial structure running down to my diaphragm. So you see, the heart is actually hanged in the middle of the room of my chest. And that's a very, very important thing here, because as soon as there is too much tension in either one of those three stabilizing areas, diaphragm, upper chest area, sternum, or spine, we have different pulls on the fascia strings that run to the heart. That's exactly a problem, because if there isn't freedom, but specific kinds of tension, then this again has an effect on the effectiveness of the heart and has an effect on the blood flow of all the vessels, all the small blood vessels that are on the outside of my heart muscle. And this sac it's built into is sort of the area that should keep the heart safe. Now if there is a pull on one of those strings and this sac gets very loose on one side but pushes on the heart on the other side, that can lead to troubles, to problems. So this exercise is specifically designed to loosen and relax all the chest area and all those strings of fascia where my heart is actually balanced in my chest area. Once again, from this position, I step aside, relax between my legs. My arms are already here. I'll show you the whole movement afterwards. My arms are already here, thumbs pointing backwards. Now I turn a little bit to the right. I tilt in my hips, come back to the middle. And from this position, I just let my right shoulder drop in, like so. And I push with my left arm up this way and with my right arm down this way. Notice the rotation in my spine. My left shoulder is pointing up this way, my right shoulder is pointing down this way. Now relax again. Come back to the middle. That's already the whole movement. Now I do it on the other side. I turn to the left. I tilt in my pelvis, in my hip joints. I turn to the right, and as soon as my spine is pointing in the same direction than my toes are, to the front, now I start turning. Left shoulder this time pushes down here, right shoulder this time pushes up there. Release. Come back to the middle. Now I take a step back, left foot comes to the right. As soon as my left foot is placed next to the right, then I stand up. And then I repeat the exercise on the right side. The only difference between left and right is that I take a step out to the right first, obviously. And now, that's the tricky part for remembering while you're doing it. Now still the exercise doesn't start to the left side. It's not a completely mirrored exercise. No, this time the exercise starts still to the right. So I turn to the right, tilt down, come to the middle, turn, come back in and up, bring my right leg to my left, stand back up after I've done the second side. Ha, trick. So the thing here is I always do it 2 times on either side, meaning from this position I step out to the left, I go left, up, right, up, middle, step out to the right side, left, middle, right, middle, and come back. So that's the whole set. And this counts as 2 repetitions then. All right, there is one more important thing that we have to look at. How do we come back? You might have noticed there is a lot of movement going on. I show you this from the side. When I'm out here, I once again start by turning to the right side, tilting, and then the rotation. Now notice, my pelvis is back there, my head is up front. If from this position I only do one thing, relaxing, I would collapse completely. So I have to think about what do I relax, in which order, in order to come back up. And that's quite simple. The main thing you have to think about, apart from releasing the tensions of your arms, is to let your pelvis sink back to the front by actually relaxing the legs. I'll show you that from the other side so that I'll look in the camera. From here, coming down, twisting, relaxing the arms, and letting your knees come to the front. By doing so, from this position, by letting your knees sink to the front, your pelvis is naturally coming underneath your center of gravity and you're standing back up straight again. That's the only thing that you have to take care of in this exercise at this point. All right, just so you have one more impression, I'm gonna do it 2 times now, just for you to watch. I'm gonna comment step by step, and the second run through, I'm also gonna include the basic breathing pattern. So, from this position, turning to the right, swinging the arms out, placing them on the upper leg area, thumb pointing to the rear. I turn my hips a little to the side, tilt in my hip area, bring my upper body to the front, turn my shoulders, left shoulder up, right shoulder down, release the shoulders, let the knees come to the front, and sink my pelvis underneath my center of gravity. Now I push back to the right side, still have a slight rotation in the hips again, and come back up as soon as I've done, once again, the second side. The very important thing here with this exercise, we go down, we do the movement, we sink into the middle, and when we are sunk into the middle, really make sure that the tensional pattern in your body is the same than after the first time when you're stepped out. Now that's very important, because from this we start the other side before coming back to the middle, and that's the very, very, very important thing. You might have noticed it's 2 times already, one before on the right side and now on the left side, that I didn't do the second part but came back to the middle. There's a good reason for that. The reason being that in this exercise it's very important for it to be balanced or closed. And in this case, because I try to explain something further, I closed it in the middle before going on to the next step, which I'm going to do right now. Closing an exercise always means shifting the whole tensional pattern back to the middle, back to the center, not only left-right, but also front-back and also up-down. That's why it's so important when you come back that you don't stand up right away, but you come back, bring your left leg to the right and then stand up. That's exactly what we want to have here. Starting again, now really running through the whole thing on both sides, turning to the right, stepping to the left, thumbs to the rear, turn, tilt, twist, coming back up, turn to the left, tilt, until the head is in the same direction than the toes, turn, back, up, step to the center, coming back up, turning to the left, sink into the position, thumbs are pointing backwards. Once again we start turning to the right side, tilting motion, twisting motion, coming back up, letting the pelvis sink underneath our center of gravity, turning to the left, twisting, coming back, letting our pelvis sink in, turning to the left and taking a step from the right foot towards the left, then standing up. Now the breathing. Normally we only have 1 breath in between the exercises. 4th exercise ended with an exhalation, so there would be an inhalation and an exhalation. Then, this time, 1 more inhalation, where you start to turn your body, inhalation, exhalation, inhalation. So this whole movement to the side and the whole twist, it's 1 big inhalation, exhalation when you come back to the center. inhalation, and exhalation. Inhalation and exhalation, stepping to the side. Inhalation, coming back up, exhalation, and once again, inhalation and exhalation, and then coming back to the left. Inhalation, and now either an exhalation and then starting again with inhalation for the breath in between, or repeating the whole thing to the left side. All right, that's about everything that's to be said at beginner's level. We're still in the beginner's tutorial here about this exercise. Couple of things here. Make sure that you move your hips nicely. Make sure that when you're out there, you really have your thumb pointing backwards, and make sure that your arms are not resting too high and too low, because when you're out here and you have your arms in the hip area, you bend forward, you don't really have anything to push off of. Yeah? Actually, you don't carry your body weight with your arms whatsoever, because your arms are at the same constructural point than your whole body is. So there is no, like, now it's good. Now we have a good structure. Yeah? Next thing, coming back to the front, having the arms actually rest completely on the knees. Now they're open too far. From this position, there is hardly anything where you can turn yourself anymore. And even worse, out here, there's a good chance that you already start like moving your knees around, and that's not what we want. Once again, stepping out, coming in the middle of your upper legs. Turn, come back down, twist, come back up, show it to you from the side, turn to the left, sink down, rotation, come back in, let the pelvis sink in, push off the left heel, and then come to the side and up. All right, fifth movement, as I mentioned, works with the heart and with all the structural aspects that are important for the heart. So opening up the chest area, opening up the upper spinal area, that's exactly where we want to go. That's the most important thing here to be done. Wish you a very pleasant day. All the best. Leave any questions in the comment box. Make sure to subscribe to get the rest of the whole set and a lot of more different tutorials that are designed for health, flexibility, energy, and everything that supports you in your daily life. Wish you a very pleasant time. Have a great one. Cheers and goodbye.